Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen, my dear brothers and sisters. Let me tell you something amazing. If you are a parent, or if you are a guardian, or if you have any siblings, this talk is going to be really important for you. Since we have two daughters, my elder daughter is 8 years and my younger daughter is only 4 years. My wife and I myself, we are really worried how we are going to brought up these two daughters. We are coming from Asian culture to a Western culture. And it's a digital era. It's an era of social media. It's an era of internet. It's an era of free mixing, intermingling and everything. So we have been really worried how to brought up our children. What should be the role model as a parent? How do we save them from sexual promiscuity? And so we kind of have no hope why we can get some guidance how to brought those beautiful daughters up and how to make them successful in this world and in the hereafter. I met an amazingly unique personality. He is a medical scientist. He is a heart specialist. He led cardiology from two hospitals, which is King George Hospital and Queen's Hospital. And he was an honorary lecturer in Queen Mary University. So he had a lot of modern professional degrees, but it does not end here. This same person, he has spent many years of his time studying Quran, studying the Hadith, studying the Islamic history. He has extensive knowledge about Islamic history. He read countless number of biographies of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Not only that, he read many biographies of world-renowned personalities like Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, you name them. Most of them he just read. He's a person of reading. He's a person of knowledge. And it does not stop here. He continues. And he basically preaches what he learns. He appeared in many TV channels, including Islam Channel UK and many other channels. He speaks about our physical heart, which is his profession, and he also speaks about our spiritual heart, which is our soul. And not only that, he somehow finds time to even do a weekly tafsirul Quran in the masjid. And he also led Friday prayer, the Jummah prayer, and give Jummah khutbah, the Friday sermon, in many masjid around the UK. You may be thinking, you may be already over the moon. But this person I'm talking about, he does not simply stop here. Because of you, because of me, because of our family, because of your family, your children, your siblings, he recently authored a book that is Parenting and Nurturing Muslim Children in Digital Era. This is a rare hope. This is a guidance for us. He actually gifted me one of the copy and I gifted it to my wife, who has been worrying and being in anxiety for so long. It's just a rare hope. It's just a sunshine in the whole day cloud. So without further delay, ladies and gentlemen, my dear brothers and sisters, let me introduce you our honorable and our beloved Dr. Javed Akhtar.
Jazakallah.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Akhtar.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
How are you today?
I'm fine.
Dr. Akhtar, would you mind if we take this opportunity and get the best out of it and ask you some of the topics, some of the questions from your book?
Okay.
So you recently wrote this book, Parenting and Nurturing Muslim Children in the Digital Era. So for the benefit of wider audience, what is digital era? And what are the main challenges?
Digital era means an era of overwhelming and extensive information, along with the digital tools and access, which the world has never seen before. This is a digital tsunami,
I see.
where the information is so extensive that on any topic and every topic, by a simple click of the button, you could have the recourse to the information. It's a different matter that it may be true information, sometimes mixed with fake information or false information, but nevertheless the information is there. Be it scientific, religious, social, spiritual, on any topic and every topic you could find. And this has first time this has transformed the whole world into a real global village. It has never happened before. Even the Industrial Revolution was limited because it did not affect the people living in far-flung areas, living in rural areas, living in the countries which were not developed. The Industrial Revolution didn't make that much of a difference, didn't have much impact. But now the digital era has impact on such a scale that a person living in the most deprived area, he has got a recourse to the information. He could do business from there sitting in a garage.
True.
In a very small area. So now we are living in much more in virtual era, virtual phase, rather than genuine or real phase. So it has affected each one of us, a small child to an old man. It has never happened before, to an extent that it has hampered, impaired the actual relationship, actual human relationship. It is almost cutting off. Living in the same house, and I have to give a call to my son to come down for the lunch or dinner. This has never happened before. Second thing is, in the past, whatever the parents or the elders told to their children, they used to listen. Most of them, they understood, they accepted because it is coming from the elder. And some of them, if they had doubts, they kept to themselves. But the digital era has made the life very difficult. Take for example, I quote a Sahabi telling something or doing something, and my son will be immediately looking that information on his mobile, and he will say, "Daddy, but that's not the name. The incidence is right, but the name of the Sahabi is something else." I mean, where did you have this information? Sitting behind you, your son, your daughter, your grandson, they know it for certain, and they will show it to you. So I think we are living in a true sense a global village with digital tsunami, and each one of us has been affected either in a good manner or having a negative and adverse effect. Unless we become oblivious to this fact, we would be a casualty. We must be cognizant of the fact that this is going to affect one way or the other, I like it or I don't. So therefore, I must be cognizant of the fact that this era is different compared to the era of my father or elders. And what it does is, it makes a whole lot of resetting of the lifestyle. It needs the resetting of the lifestyle. For example, if you were to rear or nurture or you do the parenting of your children, this is not going to work what you had your nurturing. Your children will need completely a different type of nurturing and parenting. Because one of the adverse effect, you asked me challenges, one of the adverse effect or negative effect of the digital era is it provides everyone, child to adult, very free thinking, a critical thinking, not necessarily thinking based on reasoning faculty or appealing to intellect, but nevertheless it gives you that weapon. You use it whatever way you want. It tells the child, do as you wish. You live only once in this life. So in other words, the concept of the hereafter is already out. You live only once. So live as you wish. Go where the boat floats. Now with these slogans, now these children, they will ask you question at each and every level. Either they will ask question, if they know that I cannot get the answer from my daddy, he is going to be rebellious, or he is going to ask his peer friends, or he will have recourse to digital tools, where the information may be correct for him or not, because they are not tailor-made. But the guardian, when he nurtures, the answer will be tailor-made.
That's true, that's true. I think in this digital era. So, Dr. Akhtar, since you have said some of the challenges, so is technology or is it digital era, is it really curse for us or is it beneficial for us? And you will see our children, they are basically addicted to social media, online gaming, chatting. So as a parent, we are really worried. So if it is really a blessing for us, how we can get the best out of it, how we can instruct our children, and how we can protect them from the bad side, bad element of this digital era or technological era. So could you please explain, is it blessings or is it curse?
It is both. It is a double-edged sword. It is a must. We must acquire these tools. We can't live without. You can't go back now. There's no going back. You can't live in sort of old times. And if you do, or you try to, at your own peril, at your own ruin, because we haven't got a recourse now. Try to understand. We are living in a world, a steering wheel is not in our hand. It is in someone else's hand. They are driving the car. You like it or you don't. Either you get into the car or get out of it. If you get out of it, you are not in a race. You will be sort of outwitted. So if you are in the car, a steering wheel is not in your hands. So you haven't got a choice. So whether you agree or you don't, but you have to acquire these resources, these tools, these means for their good use. Number one, that we are fully abreast with the necessary tools and devices and means so that we could have power in our hand. Without it, you won't have power. However, so this is the advantage, and we all know the advantages of these digital tools. However, the negative impact on the adverse effects have been left untouched or not discussed in detail because it will create trouble. Most of the people has accepted those negative impact as necessary, as a must. If we were to achieve these the goals of the development, we have to accept those adverse effects. As a believer, we can't. So for example, live as you wish, we can't. We are commanded by certain rules and regulations sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Quran or by our Prophet Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we have got a set of rules and laws in each and every aspects of life. Do not waste your time. You raise the point that, well, okay, they are in gaming, chatting, or wasting their time, internet addiction. A believer, if that child has been nurtured right from the very early age with that impression and that information, that these are waste of time. You have to use to a limited number the internet or the other devices to your advantage if it is necessary, to have educational course or whatever. But otherwise, it should not be used anywhere else. Now, if we have brought up our children from very early age, then the likelihood is these children will not get into these sort of bad habits. Second, chatting or gaming or violent videos or the videos with sexual promiscuity. Our children are not supposed to get involved. If we have reared up or nurtured our children from the early age, they have seen with their own eyes that my father, he's a religious person and has got all the religious edicts he follows. My mother wears hijab, prays in time, she is regular, she is disciplined, does not waste her time on TV or serials or drama or on internet or on films or anything else, and all the time on the social media and WhatsApp and is writing down and receiving the informations, receiving the messages. She is very particular. My mother is very particular about her time. She uses at that time to study Quran, to study the Seerah of Rasulullah, to study the Islamic literature, to study the Ahadith, to have the full information. Even if she goes on to digital tools or media, she uses it to her advantage to acquire proper Islamic information and Islamic education, to increase the knowledge. So if we nurture and rear our children with those information, a believer is not supposed to have a free mixing, for example, with the opposite sex. Unnecessary, number one. Number two, distraction. Number three, it could attract and create problems. Number four, our children, if we inculcate that a believer is supposed to be very ambitious to achieve maximum in this world and to achieve the maximum in the life hereafter. If you make your children studious, they haven't got time to get distracted into these adverse things. They are all the time studying because they have to be the first in their class. They have to compete. They have to be the best. I read somewhere and I kept on looking the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. A believer is supposed to be doing whatever he does with par excellence. I had read somewhere hadith, but now I'm trying to find the reference. I found out the reference. So a believer is supposed to, if he's supposed to study, he's supposed to do with par excellence, achieve the best. Whatever he does with husn, with beauty, with ihsan. If he obeys his parents, he shows his beauty in that, not just simply as a matter of rule, I follow my parents, whatever they say. No. He does with beauty. He earns the dua from his parents. So if the children are reared or nurtured from the early childhood, they have seen with their eyes their parents, that they are giving that respect and reverence to their old parents, you are a role model. You have done your job. You shouldn't be afraid that when I become old, I am going to be at the receiving end from my children. They are going to give me disrespect, which is very common, almost every household story. Why? It's a parent's fault. They did not prove themselves to be a role model. How they treated their mother, their father, their elder brother, their sisters. Children, they are watching out. And therefore they are learning. You are a role model without giving a lecture to the children. They are learning these things. So similarly, if they know that my parents have got friendship circle, they are religious. My daddy, friend, wives, they wear hijab. They pray in time when they are at home. They talk about the religious topics. They talk about the Muslim Ummah. They talk about the Muslim Qawm. Now tell me, the children growing up in this household, why should you fear or worry? Because at the end of the day, we will raise our hands to Allah anyway. Because without dua, nothing happens. Our effort cannot succeed. But with our effort, alone dua will also not succeed. With our effort, we do the dua just for the same. The likelihood is it will succeed, and the external pressure there would be exception if we fail in our children. It will not be, because the mother is like it would work like in Noah's ark. The people who were in the ark of Noah alayhi salam, they were the only ones saved. They were not affected by the flood outside. Everything else perished. So the mother is like a Noah's ark for the child. So that child is well protected from the external adverse effects, ill effects of the evils. Some will perhaps succumb, but that will not be common.
Subhanallah, you have actually answered my next question as well, which is I was about to ask you the role of a father and a mother, but you answered it such a eloquent way. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. So, Dr. Akhtar, now the question comes, because it's a competitive age. We used to see in the past father used to work only. Now we see mother also works. You know the quote from the Napoleon. He used to say, if you give me an educated mother, I will give you an educated nation. But imagine that, uncle. If a mother works full-time in a bank or a corporate business or somewhere else, full-time, do you think it is still possible to have an educated nation as Napoleon dreamt?
It depends on what you mean by education. Napoleon, obviously, when he mentioned that, if you give me an educated mother, I will give you an educated nation. I understand he must have meant educated nation on the worldly stage, because I doubt that he would have been talking about Akhirah. Now, our understanding of education is completely different. Of course, modern education is part of it. But first thing is first, to recognize our Lord, recognize that being a believer or a Muslim, we have promised to Allah and to Rasulullah ﷺ that we will behave like a true believer, and we will obey all the commands and rules and regulations which comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and all the commands from Rasulullah ﷺ. So that is one part of education. The other part of education, which is essential, is of this world, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself says, وَهُوَ الَّذِي مَرَجَ الْبَحْرَيْنِ هَذَا عَذْبٌ فُرَاتٌ وَهَذَا مِلْحٌ أُجَاجٌ وَبَيْنَهُمَا بَرْزَخٌ وَحِجْرًا مَهْجُورًا. We have created two seas, two bodies of water. One is sweet and delicious, and the other is salty and bitter. And I have created between the two a barrier which does not let mix two together. So who is going to find it out? Unfortunately, not the Muslims, the non-Muslim found it out. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Quran, وَسَخَّرَ لَكُمُ الشَّمْسُ وَالْقَمَرُ. We have made the sun and the moon subservient to you. Who is finding it out? Who is stamping his feet on the moon? A non-believer. So what are we doing? Quran says, أَعِدُّ لَهُمْ مَسْتَطَعْتُم مِّن قُوَّةٍ وَمِن رِّبَاطِ الْخَيْلِ تَرْهَبُونَ بِهِ عَدُوَّ اللَّهِ وَعَدُوَّكُمْ. That prepare with best of your capability to acquire power and might, and fast running steed of the battle, whatever you have got these days, equivalent to fast running horses, you could keep in your mind. Why? لَتَرْهَبُونَ بِهِ. So that you could scare them. They are your enemies and they are enemies of Allah. So how could we scare our enemy and the enemies of Allah when we do not have those tools? So it appears that Muslims must acquire the modern education, explore the ocean, explore the space, explore what is inside the belly of the earth. But the first thing is first, Islamic education. Now you ask me that when the husband and wife both work, both have to sit down together and ask themselves question, What is their priority in their life? Money, big house, latest French car, more comfort, or they think the first thing first. Their investment in their children, whether it is time, it is money, it is resources, is far better rather than spending or investing on other things. So if they decide that, well, let us one work, we accept meager economy and bit of discomfort, we will not have that much of a comfort or luxury, but we will have rich dividends at the end of the day because we have invested so much in our children. Then they will become coolness and delight of our eyes. Otherwise it is a dua which is of no meaning. We do dua, but we don't work for it. We are doing dua to make our children and our wives leaders of the righteous people. Not only righteous, leaders of the righteous people. But we have never worked for it. So we will have to sacrifice. If possible, the wife, you understand that the Muslim enter in the marriage contract. The man enters in the marriage contract with physical and money, financial. The wife enters in the marriage contract only physical, not money. So it is the man's responsibility for the livelihood. I understand there will be difficulties, sometimes issues, constraints, but for the sake of children, if you could accept that only one person will be working, or other person either may not work or may do part-time and accept little bit of money with financial constraints. But if, for example, both work, number one, I don't usually like both partners working, but certain circumstances may be. So if both are working, then in that case, they will have to sacrifice their other remaining time for their children rather than going to shops, supermarkets, buying markets, sales, bargains, visiting friends, and so on. No. Then after that, they will have to close themselves and very limited social relationship so that whatever remaining time they could invest with their children.
Subhanallah, that's true, Dr. Akhtar. Dr. Akhtar, you know, the children, our children, they get so much influenced by their friends. How should they find the right friends? And as a parent, how should I influence my daughters and my children to have the right friends?
Yes.
So, would you please
that's a very important question you have asked, very relevant, very pertinent. But usually the people do not think much about it. Because this is the first time in the history of mankind that the children are taking the advice of their same age. It has never happened before. They always took the advice from the senior people, either father, uncle, or someone senior. It has never happened before that child of whatever age he is taking the advice from the same age. And the reason is, now we are living in a virtual world. So he thinks that maybe I do not have that much resource to the digital tools he may have, so he might have the answer, which could be very dangerous for the children. That's the reason parents must have a very close relationship with the children. They must invest quality time with the children. They should sit down together, jump together, play together. They should have that frank relationship, not all which we have found with our fathers. Now, if you keep that, your children are not going to be right. So, we have to have that relationship so that the children feel very open, that they have open access to their parents. They could talk on every matter to their parents very easily. Not that we have to make friends with our children, but that much open that they could easily come and ask questions from us rather than going to their teenagers. So that is one. So develop a very strong bonds with the children. Second, you must have authoritative type of parenting. Must not be authoritarian. They are two different things. Because authoritarian parenting, they are very strict. They are very demanding. You have to conform to these rules or norms, whatever your parents say. This is not the case with the authoritative parenting, because they are also strict. They have got rules and boundaries fixed. But before that, before the trespass, before that, very close to their children. Very easy access. They spend a lot of time with their children. Make sure that they play with them. Make sure they take the children out and walk with them. Make sure that they have got a discussion when they are on the dining table. They discuss about the dire situation of the Muslim Ummah. They inculcate that love and affection for the Muslim Ummah. Because we have got at the moment a disconnect. People have become very ritualistic in the religious matters. They go to mosque, they worship, they fast, they do this, that and the other. But they are not connected to the Qawm. Qawm is not in good shape. The evils are spreading. And yet it appears it doesn't bother them. So we have to sit with the children, always make them hate the evils, the evil actions, the evil deeds. So when they grow up, they know, oh, well, okay, these are the set of rules, boundaries. I cannot trespass and I must not cross it. Otherwise, it has got consequences. I will make my daddy and mommy who love me so much angry or upset, which they will not dare. The second thing is you have to be, or parents have to be role model for the children to see. If you want your children to select virtuous friend, righteous friend, good friend, ambitious friend, a friend your children should have who is ambitious to have well or good in their study. They should achieve that par excellence in their studies, achieve best in their grades. They should be serious type. They should not be distracted. If you want that, better show it in your action. So that you also have got a friendship circle. They are nice people, serious type, sincere type. They talk on serious topics. And they appear to be religious. They also practice those religiosity in their action. They are nice, they are kind, they are generous, they are tolerant, they do not fight against each other. They are not involved in slandering, backbiting, making fun of someone else. So you are teaching your children that you should have a friendship circle. I understand, I accept, it is very difficult to find a good friend, but you have to give them the criteria who they should choose as a friend. Because remember, you have to always from the early age tell them the hadith of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said two things. When Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that a person will stand up with his friend on the day of resurrection, I found it very difficult to swallow. I should stand up with my father and mother, with my brother. But Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, you will stand up with your friend? What does it mean? Is that important that much? The second thing is you have to give criteria to these children what sort of a friendship they should have. Make sure that your children, friends are ambitious, they want to achieve, the modern education is valued, Islamic education is valued, that they give a lot of preference to it, they'll give a lot of respect to it. They want to acquire Islamic knowledge, they want to practice, and they want to do well in their grades and school. If that's the type of friendship circle you have got with your friends, the likelihood is less to get into bad habits. Rasulullah said, a friend is like as if you have got a friendship with an iron smith. So if you sit with him, he's your friend, he's bellowing the iron smith job, so at least some iron particles, iron soot will go on your clothes as well. You will get some on your face, on your clothes. But if you have got a friendship with a perfume seller, so either you would buy it or he will give you as a gift, and if not, at least that a smell and the essence and the perfume will be in the air, you will enjoy it. So similarly, a friendship circle, we must find if the person, if he has got a friendship with a boy who gives disrespect to his parents, what your child is going to do? He is going to develop the same bad habit. If that boy is not sincere in his studies, what your son is going to do? He is going to earn the same thing. He is just lazing around, wasting him time and not doing well in the exam. If your son or daughter has got a friendship circle with the girl who flaunts the dress code of Islam, then she will not be wearing the hijab and the rest of it, what goes with it. So obviously we have to make sure that we give them the criteria. We are different type of people. We follow certain rules and regulations. We go along certain set of boundaries. We cannot afford to cross because we are guided by commands of Allah and our Prophet. If you have told them in a way that they have become now used to it, they understood it, they have seen what you practice as a believer, what sort of a friendship circle you have, what type of discussion you hold in your living room, your children, inshallah, are going to learn this.
Inshallah, inshallah. Dr. Akhtar, you know, we used to think the sexual promiscuity, the free mixing, intermingling is part of Western culture. But you'll be surprised, Dr. Akhtar, and I believe you know that already, you'll not be surprised, you know that our Asian culture is not even immune from that.
Yes.
So how, as a parent, and all the parents obviously, we can save our children from this the epidemic of sexual promiscuity?
We are living in a very difficult world. You're absolutely right. As a parent, one should be scared before the bad thing happens, and he should be working, he or she or both should be working on this aspect for their children. We should try, we have got no choice. Our parents used to feel uncomfortable talking about sex. No, you haven't got a choice. They are being taught or taught in school at a very young age. So you have got you cannot hold any bar now. It is not in your hand. And similarly on the internet, on other digital tools, they know now the things. They become mature at a very early age, very, very early age, which I did not know after becoming a doctor. They know by age 9. Finished, the story ends there. So they are very mature. Now we have to tell them from early age that Islam deals with all aspects of life. Islam recognizes sex as an important part of life, and it gives the guidance on this aspect as well. There is no point in hiding our face like an ostrich in this sandstorm. Neither I will see nor it will happen. It will. So we have to deal with it and we have to take it head on. We have to face it. But the only thing is, we don't have to sort of go and use these words which are used these days. Indirectly, we could let our children, this is important aspect of life. Islam does not shy away in addressing it, dealing with it. It recognizes sex as essential part of the life, an important part of the life, and it deals with in the most amicable and a detailed fashion. So from early age we should try, once the children are very close to you, the parents, then you could talk in a sort of with the grip over the language in a way that you don't shy away, but you recognize that this is part of the need. However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam recognizes its importance and it being essential part of a life, yet he has not left it alone. He has given guidelines to go by. Now, if as a parent, the child knows that my father and my mother, they don't have a free mixing. When the guests come, the woman is sitting somewhere else, or man is sitting somewhere else. If the house is small, at least a sort of a symbolic gesture that when women are on one side of the same room perhaps and men on the other side, if not possible sitting separately. The girl is growing up, the boy is growing up looking at, watching all this. My father friendship circle, they are all religious. They are steadfast in the prayer. When the prayer time comes, no questions asked. They immediately the prayer matter starts and all that. Similarly, the girl sees that my mother wears hijab. No. Her friends also wear hijab. Nope. Her friend's daughter who are a bit grown up, they also wear hijab, and they don't have usually free mixing, intermixing. So then you are gradually teaching your child how far could you go in sex matters and how much you have to restrain yourself. So from very early age, they know it. Moreover, you set boundaries. For example, your child is growing up, you have to tell and you have to make them understand that Islam does not permit a free mixing of the boys and the girls, shaking hands unnecessarily between the opposite sex, coming two together, or talking too much, taking longer time, leisure, and two boys and girls sitting alone. The Islam does not allow these things. So if you are setting bars from early age, the children will know their limits, that certain things are simply not acceptable. And if anyone tries to trespass, severe misreprimand and consequences they will have to face. So I think is mainly how one nurtures and rears the children, what sort of a concept you are giving to the child, what sort of a role model you're proving yourself. You are not having a real role model and you expect your child or daughter or boy or daughter to behave very well. The expectation is not right, because we are living in a world very difficult. So number one, we should address the issue of sex. We should talk, we should have a linguistic grip, we should let them have the message, we should behave in a way in our own home. They should see with their own eyes what my father, mother does. You should tell them that these are your limits. Restrict them, limit them. I give you an example. Every school sends the children on a week somewhere else camping. If it is my daughter or my son, I didn't need to say my sons. They didn't go. They found one excuse or the other, because they know what happens in the camps. And I'm talking about very early age, teenagers, early teenagers, and what happens there. So your daughter is unlikely to ask a question at all. Well, if you don't go there, sky will not fall and earth will not rent asunder. It will not split. What's going to happen? Nothing much. And if they go, then at least now in most of the schools you have got few Muslim girls together. So they could just simply band together so that they work as a sort of a safety group. They don't run into trouble. So I think you have to be, or parents have to be very careful and never believe that because someone is a Muslim, therefore they are all right. They are not all right. Things are not in shape. So never trust in a way, because we are not in good shape. So therefore only have trust if you know the family, if you know their children, know their upbringing, then only. But otherwise try to avoid the things. Why do you want to let a boy or daughter go into the sea and say, well, but don't get wet? They will get wet.
Subhanallah. Dr. Akhtar, the next topic which I'm going to ask you, I know you can talk about it for days because you are being a medical scientist and a medical doctor, but obviously we don't have enough time. So I would kindly request you to briefly touch on that topic, because it's also a controversial topic in the media. It's about the LGBTQ plus and gender changes. Believe it or not, our children is going to face, and it has been taught in schools and colleges, well, in early schools. As a parent, we are really worried and anxious what is going to happen. Would you please briefly touch on that topic?
I agree. This is, you asked me the challenges. This is one of the challenges as well of the digital era, that it has given so much of free thinking to everyone, that the universal values, universal code of conduct, regardless of nations, communities, religion, race, what has been taken universally as morally right code of conduct, now the whole right moral code of conduct has become blurred and fuzzy. And therefore, those universal values are not changing. In the past, if someone, for example, had man-to-man relationship, he was a gay. Look, I don't have to go too far. I don't have to go back to our old countries. I'm talking about England. 1977, when I came, Jeremy Thorpe was the Liberal Democrat head. And he was, it appears, he was a gay. Believe me, he was haunted like an animal. Poor chap, he was suffering. Society didn't accept. That was the society of this place in 1977. It was not acceptable. But now, it is the other way around. You can't talk anything against. If you talk, you will be in difficulties. So I think we have to tell our children from very early age about the gender Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created. He has created me. I didn't ask for it. I had no clue. I didn't have any power. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen me to be a man, has chosen a person to be a woman. So it's up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I will be accountable as a man and other person will be accountable as a woman if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made one. Now the gender is defined as what I perceive myself as. So even though I have got the male characteristics, but I perceive myself as a woman, so I'm a woman. I mean, what can you say about that? With all my beard and everything else, and I perceive myself to be a woman. Okay then. So I think we have to educate our children, because if we don't educate, we are going to run into troubles. When we educate and we don't feel shy of talking on sex matter to our children, then that will work as a barrier. Then our children will know, Muslim children will know, that we should not get involved in this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen me as a male, I have to act like a male. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen a girl as a female, she should behave like a female. And one of the main reasons for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala making male and female is to have children. Now think, if the man to man and the woman to woman, if they have got relationship, what about productivity? If it goes on for 100 years and all of us start doing the same, let us accept, hypothetically, then what will happen to this world? It will not take 100 years. After 50, 60 years, it will be done, finished. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not have to create a doomsday for us. It will be already, in few decades, it will be gone. So I think we will have to accept whatever is truth in this world, and we have to inculcate the right concept of religiosity, right concept of religion on a large canvas, and we have to accept and tell the children that sex is an important part, but we have got defined courses, defined role to play. It is not up to me what I perceive myself to be or someone else. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made me a male, I have to behave like a male. And all, since the day this world was created, we do not know how long ago we have behaved like this. Even the animals behave the same way. So you would never see an animal with these sort of characteristics. So I think we will have to educate our children, and we don't have to argue, debate with others, because you will not win. Because this is not our dominant culture. We are living in a place where our culture is not dominant. So you don't have to argue or debate, but you have to make our children understand, and they would understand it very easily. The problem is we don't work on it, we don't open up with our children, and then suddenly one day information comes from the school that, miss, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect our children.
Ameen, Ameen. Dr. Akhtar, we see our children they get motivated, they get really influenced by the role models, like a pop star, Hollywood star, Bollywood star, football star, cricket star, you name them. And you have seen in the media their life, they're really miserable. But in the media we see they are like, they're riding expensive cars, this and that. So who should be the real role model for our children? And as a parent, how we can help our children to achieve and to follow the right and correct role model?
I think it's a very, very important question you have asked. We have to nurture, educate our children in various ways, that all of our role model is Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So whether parent or child, parent have to behave like a role model in the family. But the parent role model ultimately is Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He is our role model. So, وَمَا آتَاكُمُ الرَّسُولُ فَخُذُوهُ وَمَا نَهَاكُمْ عَنْهُ فَانْتَهُوا. Whatever Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam gives to you, take it. Whatever he stops you from, stop it. Don't do. So he is our role model. And Quran, in other place, Quran says that certainly for you, the role model uswatun hasanatun is Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So it's already fixed, decreed. So I think we have to inculcate that concept from the early childhood, that all of our role model is Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. We have to follow him. Whatever he says us to do, we will do it. Whatever he says us not to do, we will stop down there. Otherwise, we don't do justice to our faith. That means we are not a real believer. We claim so, but we are not a genuine believer. A genuine believer always keeps Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam as a role model, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to be. And we have to learn what that means. So what that means is how Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he lived with his wives. Was he having a shouting match in his home? Was he having a loud voice, insulting, wife beating, husband beating? Or he was at the highest level of excellence, highest level of manners, highest level of etiquettes, highest level of akhlaq. So we have to behave as a role model. What Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was a role model to us. I have to live in a home, no fight, no raised voices, no quarrels, no insults, no humiliations to anyone, neither wife to against the husband, nor the husband against the wife. So we have to be role model there. We have to show our children, because you see the bad aspect is we don't care if the children are there, husband and wife fighting. He is learning, he is hearing. My mom and dad are fighting, having a shouting match. He is going to do the same thing to his wife. It's a vicious circle. If my children see that I am very tolerant, if my wife says something unjustified even against me, I keep quiet and tolerate it. Same is true for my wife. She should accept and keep quiet. Not that she should start justifying. Because between the quarrel of the husband and wife, no one is winner, no one is loser. Either both are loser or both are winner. So not tit for tat. The children are watching this. They should watch that my father gets up in the morning, he prays Fajr. He has got Quran in his hand. His mother recites Quran every day. Whenever she has got free time, Quran is in her hand. A book of Sirah is in her hand. A book of Hadith is in her hand. When she talks to her friend on the telephone, she is talking about deen, about religion, about qawm, about the evils of the society. So children are growing up with these things. The children see that there is no backbiting in my house. There is no slandering. There is no insult of everyone else. They are not playing with the dignity and respect of someone else. Children are growing up. You are behaving as a role model. You will get reward for that. Yes, of course, it is difficult. Sometimes you feel like shouting at each other, husband and wife, but you just keep quiet. I give you an example. My daughter-in-law will attest. Once my wife really roughed me up. It was not my fault. And I just kept quiet. And then when she went, I told my daughter-in-law that you must be thinking that I am behaving like a weak person. She told, no, Daddy, I know you are not a weak person. I told, but did you see your mother-in-law made a sort of difficult life for me? And I kept quiet. She told, yeah, but I told, do you know why I did it? I told, no. I told, because you were there. So I have to be a role model for you. Otherwise you will learn bad things. If you were not there, I was going to tell her in exactly the same manner, perhaps. But then, that much conscious you have to be. My daughter-in-law, she will do the same thing to my son. My daughter will do the same thing to her husband. Or my son will do the same thing to his wife. So I have to be all the time very conscious. It should be over my head that I have to be a role model. The way I live in my home. I should have Quran in my hand. I have this book in my hand. I've got a free time, not lazing around, sitting in front of the TV, wasting time on internet. No, I'm a serious type. I'm not a run of the mill. We have to inculcate that concept in our children's mind because we value education. First thing is Islamic education and the modern education, both go hand in hand. So we value education. So education is valued highly in this home. So the father, the mother and the children, they all value. So children will learn those things. Children know my father is very tolerant type of person. He accepts things. He is very forgiving. But these words are in these books. But we don't practice. My children does not see with their eyes that my father is tolerant, very forgiving, very kind, very benevolent, shows forbearance. He doesn't see. So how do we expect my children to have these character in their personality? They won't. So I think we have to be very careful, very conscious of these facts. And I could tell you that even in this part of the world, we could rear and nurture our children, inshallah, with our effort and with our dua, we expect we will get through.
True. Ladies and gentlemen, my dear brothers and sisters, so the questions I have been asking Dr. Akhtar and the answer he has been giving is just few drops in the ocean. He basically, more than 3 years, he put his whole life experience and extensive, more than 3 years research, he put this into that book. And believe me, if you read that book, it has all the details he spoke about. He just briefly touched on the topics I have asked him. So I will highly, highly encourage you to get a copy of this book. This book is available in Amazon. I'll put the link down below so you can get it from there as well. So it's basically a must-have book in every Muslim family. So I will highly, highly encourage you to have that book because it has been helping my wife, myself to raise our daughters. So as I was saying in the beginning, we have been really anxious and worried. And this book is like a hope for us, a guidance, an instruction manual for us how to raise our kids in the digital era. So we are going to conclude. So I just would like to ask Dr. Akhtar, this book has come to us and this cannot be better time than this time because as I said, my daughter, one of them is 8 years, the other one is 4 years. So it cannot come in any better time than right now.
I would like to add here, this is important for the audience. We think that there are 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years child, so what would they understand? Believe me, I'm talking about now as a medical scientist. By the time they attain age 9, they are psychologically fully mature. And as I mentioned, that the maturity age is decreasing now very fast. So previously, for example, it used to be 12 years or 13 years, now it is 8 years or 9 years. So whatever you have to do, you make sure that you do not ignore, do not underestimate the learning capacity or understanding capacity of these small kids, that they are 4, 5 or 6 years. As a matter of fact, this is the right time, age 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, done with. After that, you could do the refined tuning, but the real work is below 9 years. It's much earlier, as against to the common belief that when the child becomes 10 years, 12 years, then you have lost your time. That's number one. Number two is make sure that you make it studious from early age 3, age 4, age 5, age 6. You could take them on bedtime stories. I teach my grandchildren now what I have done to my sons. But now my grandchildren, age 2.5, 3. And I will tell the Ibrahim alayhi salam, thrown into the fire. Nuh alayhi salam, his people were drowned with a big flood. Yunus alayhi salam, swallowed up by the fish. And so on. Just one-liner. That's all they know. They are 3-year-old. 1 year later, I will add one more sentence to them. 1 year more, 5, 6, and we will keep on adding to them. That's what you could do as well. It's very helpful, provided these children see that you are sincere to your faith.
Excellent point. That's what I call to learn from a people who have ocean of knowledge. So you could see, we can make mistake or we can think something otherwise very easily. That's why we need a knowledgeable person like Dr. Akhtar. So I just would like to conclude with that question, Dr. Akhtar. What has motivated you to write that book for us?
Because when I had a small children, I'm talking about mid to late 80s, there was not one single book available for the Muslims. Not one single book written on child rearing or parenting. And so what I did was, because all along I had the habit of reading and reading serious books. So from England and America, I bought 5, 6 books on parenting and nurturing. They were there. Knowing the fact that it will not be sufficient for our needs, but something perhaps, because they write with the statistics, the books with the statistics, and they write scientifically. So something will be there for me. I have just 2 minutes ago, I have mentioned that you have got till age 9. This is from those books. They mention that a child is psychologically mature enough to understand everything by the time they are age 9. They start much earlier, but fully mature psychologically by the age 19. And I learned few other things, because there were no Muslim who has written the book in particular on this issue. So I started devising my ways wherever I found some Quranic word, some hadith, some seerah book, certain things, because I knew that I've got only one chance in my life for my child. If one son goes or goes astray, I'm done with. So therefore I was very conscientious from that point of view, and I was very particular about these bedtime stories, this, that and the other. Very conscious about the fact that I have to be role model. While writing the book, doing the research, I realized that I have committed mistakes as well. So this is admission time, that I have also committed mistakes, but I didn't have any insight that a book is written by someone and I would have gone through. At that time, not available, but perhaps I would have done better. But the tarbiyah is my special interest. Tarbiyah not only of children, of adults as well. So the tarbiyah of women, tarbiyah of men, I already had very strong feelings about tarbiyah, because the people somehow become the religious, they go to the mosque, they do some ritual things, but really they don't see that vision on a large canvas of Islam. They don't have that understanding. So all along I felt that we neglect tarbiyah, the training, the nurturing as an adult. I give you a clue. In my community is very well known where I come from. I speak the truth, whether you like it or you don't. Who has given this person a license like this? He's raising his voice, he's talking loudly, and yet he's telling that he tells the truth. Therefore what? You have got a right to shout or make a loud noise? You haven't got any right. Who gave us that license? But this is very well known. I am absolutely sure your community, the people must be, there are people, they say loudly things, raise their voice. They say as if they are angry. And the Quran says, وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظِ. Believers are those who restrain and control their anger. Look at him. Quran says the believers are those who restrain and control their anger. Quran says, Firaun. Can you think Firaun? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells Musa alayhi salam and Harun alayhi salam, Izhaba ila Firaun innahu tagha. You both go to Firaun because he has transgressed. فَقُولَ لَهُ قَوْلًا لَيَّنًا. But talk to them softly and gently. Quran says, talk to whom gently and softly? To Firaun, the most cursed person on earth. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Musa alayhi salam to talk to him gently and softly. Have we taught our children? Do we even remember it is in Quran? So I think we have to try to learn. We don't learn. When we get married, we don't have marriage counseling. We don't have too many books written on marriage counseling. We do not know, we don't write down what are the qualities I want in my wife or what are the qualities I want in my husband to be. I received the CV from the girls for my son, Rishta. Now I get, the girl says, I want to eat outside in as many restaurants. I mean, she hasn't got something else to offer. Okay, that's your personal thing, is your wish. But I mean, something better than that. I think we have to bring up our children, give them the sense of sincerity, seriousness. We are serious type of people. We are not run of the mill. We are talking about this world and the hereafter. So we have to show that sincerity. And that's what I mean, that this is a particular interest for me to nurture and train the adult. This is important. And this book which I have written, I really want every household to have it, go through it and try to practice. And if their children or adults are grown up, what they find that they have committed mistake, they should ask for forgiveness from their children and give them as a gift so that they could use it. They do not commit the same mistake when they rear or parent their children.
MashaAllah, it's really enlightening. So, ladies and gentlemen, my dear brothers and sisters, so as I was saying you in the beginning, I moved my houses many places in London. I actually moved many parts of the world as well. And obviously I met a lot of Muslim community. This is the first time, 2 years back, as I said, I moved into that area. So I have not seen with my own life experience such an important person. I have seen heart specialist or medical scientist, but they were not practicing Muslim at all. So it's like a two ocean meeting together. So Dr. Akhtar is not only doctor of physical heart, he is the doctor of our spiritual heart, which is our soul. And since last 2 years, he has been my mentor, my teacher, my ustad, and I ask guidance, help from him all the time. So I am really jealous in a positive way to see Dr. Akhtar, and I don't see anyone like him. So I wish every family, every community should have someone like Dr. Akhtar. But how do we do that? So Dr. Akhtar made it really easy. So he put everything in that book. So I believe and I hope when you read that book, it is not impossible to have Dr. Akhtar in every single family. So for that, I will highly encourage you to get a copy of it. So with that, I would like to conclude. Dr. Akhtar, thank you very much for your precious time. I know you are really, really busy with your study and with your profession. So really, it's a heartfelt thank you from me, from my family, and I believe
Jazakallah.
many families around the world
Inshallah.
will be watching that, and they will thank you as well.
Inshallah. Jazakallah khair.
So, آخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين.
Jazakallah.